Grief is such an overpowering emotion, especially after losing someone so close to you. It can take months, years, even decades to get back to normal, if that's even possible after experiencing a significant loss. This podcast was created to help you move through and release the emotions, allowing you to heal the hurt and begin living again. Listen in as I chat with medical professionals, grief workers, and people who have first-hand experience in losing a loved one, what their experience has been, and what they did to help heal themselves and those around them. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, but I believe there is always a silver lining if you're willing to look. Welcome to the Release Podcast. Welcome to another episode of Release Grief Podcast. Today I have the wonderful honor of having Samantha Ruth on here. Sam, if you're like this with her, tight. But she is touching on something that this podcast, one of the reasons why this whole podcast was created, and it's talking about grief and the lack of conversation around it. And so she wants to put forth into the hands of everyone. She's hosting a conference December 2nd through the 8th, which is actually Grief Awareness Week, which most people don't even know about. So I am so happy to have Samantha on here, or Sam. Maybe she'll let me call her Sam. I'm not really sure. We're not there yet. We'll get there. But help me welcome Sam on here to talk about all things grief, all this awareness, trying to get this stuff out. Go ahead, Sam. Tell me what's happening the first week of December.
Thank you so much for mentioning it. It really, really gets me fired up that we have hot dog days and pie days on calendars, and professionals don't even know this week exists. So it's National Grief Awareness Week. It's not on any calendars. It's not a part of any conversations in any school or anywhere.
And it needs to be.
Right. But no one knows it exists. So
Right.
I am making some noise, as well as creating an event that we all need, because the holidays are not just bright and happy for everyone.
No, I can't think of anyone who the holidays are bright and happy for. I think a lot of people put on a show for it. Like, I love the lights, I love the glitz, I love the glamour of the holidays. But deep down, there's also an underlying thing is that, I'm in grief. I'm still missing my daughter. I'm still missing my granddaughter. I'm still missing all the loved ones that have passed before me and going through this. So I don't know if it's necessarily that they're happy about it. Maybe they're just masking a deeper issue and putting up another light just to avoid it. I know I do that.
Well, the world does,
Yeah.
the world doesn't even discuss it. It's uncomfortable. It really is. And it can be, but the only way it gets more comfortable is if we do talk about it, right?
Absolutely.
Anything takes practice.
It does. And grief is one of those things that not necessarily will you get good at it. I don't know that you can get better at grief, but you can get better at handling your grief. You can get better at someone's in grief and how to navigate that conversation or that interaction with that person, which we don't do that very well. Normally it's,
I just had a retreat a week and a half ago, and everyone there ended up being people who were grieving and healing. And I didn't market it that way, but that is who I end up working very closely with. And one of the common things when I brought in some outsiders to do some collaboration, one of the things that happened is what happens to us all, we get told how strong we are.
right.
And, we had the conversation that we hate that word. We know it's not meant to insult us. We know it's not meant, but it really pisses us off. And we don't want to be called strong. We weren't given a choice. We had to walk this path. And eventually during my journey, I recognized how strong I am. And now I know that, but that's different than having people say, oh, you're so strong. It's like it gets people riled up and not calm.
It does. It does. I was telling my husband just the other day, someone made the comment to me, and I don't know why this annoys the bejesus out of me, but it does. And they say, you've been through so much.
That's another one.
And I told my husband, I said, I don't know why that annoys me. I said, we've all been through a lot. We've all been through so much stuff in our life that we look at other people and we think, oh my gosh, they've been through so much more. And maybe they have, but it's a different perspective. And I don't know why it annoys me so much to hear that you've been through so much. And it's like, I guess for me, it doesn't feel like there's a way to, it's not helping. It's
Right.
not helping at all. And it's like, okay, yeah, I've been through so much, but so have you. What have you been through? Where are you going? How are you helping? What are you diving into? And that's where my mind immediately goes. And maybe that's crazy. I don't know, but I just,
Well, that's how we connect, right? Like, I don't know how you got through your first couple of years, but I couldn't have done it without people who were further along, other widows further along, so that they could tell me I wasn't crazy, I wasn't losing my mind, this would pass. You know, and I have amazing friends and family, but they haven't lost a husband. They've lost people, right? I needed people who had been through my loss, and we all do, in addition to whoever you already have, because there's something that only that group gets in a certain way.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And like, yeah, so like with your grief, losing a spouse, like, I don't know what that is like. I can theorize and I can imagine like it would be shit, but I honestly don't know the emotions and the everyday struggle that comes along with that. And that's got to be like heartbreaking.
Right. And I don't know what it's like to lose a child, right? We still work in the fields of grief, but I think it's important, even for my clients who have had those losses, to still find those people as well.
Yes. I agree. I think grief is it's unique in certain ways, but yet we're all on the same path in other ways. And so I find it extremely interesting when people are like, no, I don't have any grief. No, I'm not there. No, I don't have anything. I'm like, okay, you have unresolved grief. Grief that you don't, and maybe you don't realize that you're in. Because I had another lady who I was chatting with, and she had, her daughter had disowned her, and she didn't realize that she was going through grief with all of that. I'm like, yeah, you lost your child. Like, whether they're physically still here or not, you still lost a child. You're still grieving, going through that process.
And that's what the world doesn't address. It's the ending of something, the ending of a job, relationship, right? And so by not talking about death because it's uncomfortable, we're also not talking about any of these other situations that we go through that we need to know how to get through. And people just act like going from high school to college is easy. Going from college to those things are difficult and we don't discuss. And it would be a lot easier if we did, and we had more people saying, this is what helped me, this didn't, you'll get all of the things. So that's why I get really fired up about people, even if it makes someone else uncomfortable. It's not about them, right? Me getting through my life without Jim isn't about your comfort level.
Yeah, it's not. It's about me getting through whatever it is I'm going through. It's about me surviving to the next day, the next moment, the next week, the next year.
So I don't do that, acting like I'm fine. You know, there are days I'm not okay and I'm still showing up, but I tell you, I'm having one of those days. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Other people maybe pull it off. It's not healthy for me. Like, I just don't like to hide it. I'm not going to curl up in a ball during the middle of our podcast and sob for the whole time. Right. But if I'm having an off day, I just feel like letting you know changes the entire interaction that we're going to have. And maybe you save a conversation for another day when you know I'm a little bit more with it and have my head on a little bit straighter. And
well, I think it's also the filters. So I think we're in a society where it's me, and everything needs to be catered to me. I therefore cannot extend beyond myself to see that, oh, hey, maybe this is not going to hit where I want it to hit when I say it. Or maybe they've just been through a really shitty day, and you know what? They're on an anniversary of something that they're never going to be able to get back. but they're on an anniversary of that date, and you know what? They're just in a melancholy mood or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. But it just doesn't. Yeah, I like that. And it's not about us barreling our way through life and only focusing on ourselves. It is about us being cognizant of those around us and taking note of where they're at mentally, emotionally, and physically, and stepping outside of our own comfort level to reach a hand out and say, hey, I see you. I see you. I may not know what you're going through, but I see you.
And that's all anybody wants, right? We just want people here with us. We don't expect you to fix it or have a magic answer. People want to.
But they do. I do. I'm a fixer.
Right? We want to make it better. But if you really want to be there for people, all they need is you being there. I'll have people say, I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know what to say. So I waited X number of, say anything. Say, I'm thinking of you and I don't know what to say, right? Like people are grieving in their own ways. And for some, picking up that phone is too much. And so you sending those thoughts and wishes lets them know, okay, I'm not alone. I still have you if I want to pick up this phone.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's yeah. We had a lady, so not too long ago, we went through the second anniversary of losing my granddaughter. And this lady who was on the scene when it happened, she stopped back by afterward, to see how my son and daughter-in-law were doing, how us as a family were doing. And she's I believe a registered nurse, an emergency nurse at the time or previously. And then she stopped back by a couple months later to see how they were doing, how we were doing. And then the first year rolled around, she stopped by with a card. And then the second year rolled around, she stopped by with a card. She said, I'll see you next year. And so it's just those little moments, because I'm like, who in the heck is pulling in my driveway? Like, they know who we are. Like, I don't know this person. I don't know this car. And she came up and we knew instantly who she was when she came up. But it was like, those are the people. That's how I want to emulate in this world and going forward, is to, she doesn't have to take time out of her day. She did everything that she could on the scene to help her. She stopped by months later. First year, the second, she doesn't have to do any of it, but she does.
But I wish she did, right? Like my clients tell me that I go above and beyond.
Yes.
And it's taken me until now. It took me until my retreat X number of days ago for it to sink in that I do. But it's because to me, it's what the job should be. If I'm working with a human being and they live with other people, that's a part of their family. And if they have a job or go to school, that's a part of. So I have always pulled in any and everything that's relevant and done more and had those contacts, and people have said, you don't have to. Well, I guess we don't, but we really
don't have to, but it's beautiful that you do.
And the level of care and what you can provide goes so much deeper. And I think that when we reach that point, that more people will follow. We're just not taught that it's okay, that it's okay to just show up and say, I'm thinking of you today.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Hey, I thought about you today. I just want to send you a message. How many of those times do you have those conversations in your head? I know I used to have them all the time about, hey, a certain person's image or name would pop into my head, but I'm like, I'm so busy, I'll get to it later. And in reality, I never do. But the times that I have taken the time to say, hey, I was just thinking about you today. Just wanted to, send a little hug, or, tell you hi, or send in a little love your way, whatever it is. They really responded well to it. Like, they loved it because they weren't alone, and it's usually in the time that they need it the most. They're really down, they're feeling crap, they're going through whatever it is they're going through, and they're like, oh, okay, thank you.
And if you think about most things, not even just grief, people are there at the time of the crisis. Then they go back home and have to live their lives. And we physically look okay. Our injuries are internal, so no one sees them. So life goes on. And
Mhm.
even as a little girl, I couldn't adjust to that. I couldn't go from funeral to eating like nothing had just happened. And that is the world we live in. And it is okay if that feels off to you. It does for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
all it takes is one saying, I still need to talk more about this. That was heavy. And I guarantee you're not the only one in the room. We just are in this world that's so fast paced and gets right back to it. The people struggling are still struggling for
Yeah.
months, years, and they need us. So all of those extra messages and reaching out anytime after the actual crisis, they're so meaningful.
I think they are. I think they're meaningful in so many different ways as well. Like not just like even after a moment of grief or knowing that they've lost someone, but just letting him know that, hey, you're not alone in this world because mental health is at an all-time high, having issues and stuff like that. We have more access to communicate with people, yet studies have shown that people feel more alone than they ever have and then, ever. And it's like, okay, so reach out, get off the phone, get off the computer, or, use those 4 ways to reach out and talk to people and say, hey, thinking about you. Want to
And
get
think about how
together for
you
lunch?
connect. We went to a baseball game and I'm looking around. I'm the person who you're going to call 7 times. My phone's on silent. I'm going to
Yeah.
call you back because it's over there and I can't find it. I'm not attached to it, but I'm like, nobody's talking to each other here.
Yeah.
Everybody is in their own little iPhone world, sitting with other humans, but not interacting. And so
Right.
even just taking 10 minutes or 5 minutes to put it away and connect with who you are with talking to online, it's a different level of connection. And that's how we find our people. We have to have more than, hi, how was your day?
Right. And then the generic answer, oh, it's fine. How was yours? Just having a meaningful conversation like, hey, what did you do today? Hey, did you have any bright spots, or what was your struggle with today, or something like that? My husband and I have now started doing those. Like we talk to each, and we can hear the inflection in each other's voice, so we know when there's something going on. Like when,
Mhm.
crap, you've had a crappy day. Well, how can I support you? Blah 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 blah. And going through those things. And I tell you what, it has made a world of difference, just like within our marriage, the communication in our marriage.
I'll ask clients sometimes, what do you like? What do you do for fun? What do you do and
Mhm.
it's like I'm asking them a mathematical equation,
Yeah,
that you need calculators for because we don't even have those conversations. So,
no,
just ask, what's your favorite class? Not, do you have any homework?
right.
Is it the teacher? Is it the subject? We learn so much in quick little interactions. So it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
hours.
absolutely. We do. I know you talked about, we briefly mentioned, got on the topic of the event that you have coming up. Can you tell me more about that? I'm super excited for it.
Been planning it for a year. So I announced it on August 30th, which was National Grief Awareness Day, another day that no one knows exists. So last year, as I went out and tried to connect with people to have an event and do something, I realized that no one is aware these days even exist. So how
No.
can teachers say, who are you missing today? It's National Grief Awareness Day. Let's talk about somebody you love. They can't do it if they don't know. So I literally started planning in 2022 how to make this year different. So National Grief Awareness Week is in between Thanksgiving and Christmas when
Mhm.
so many are silently struggling. So I'm
Yeah.
having a 7-day live event streaming anywhere with 5 speakers a day to support people, to give you resources and tools and different ways to heal and get through grief, which comes in waves and isn't just one straight line. So even once the event is over, they'll still have access to these talks, to someone they connected with and maybe one of their programs, because we have to go back to it. There are things I still go back to and use from day one, and there are new things I've picked up along the way. But holidays, New Year's, Christmas, difficult time for a lot of people. So trying to make as much noise so that other people know here's something I can do to get help and meet people who are going through it. And if you know anyone, please help me get it on a calendar, because it's a little bit more important to me than hot dog day.
Absolutely. I love that. And gosh dang it, I had a thought and then it went bloop, gone. Dang it. Oh, I was gonna bring it back down to the children. Like you mentioned, the teachers can't ask the students who they're missing today, if they don't know that this day exists. I have a twofold on like that. Like that's a fine line we're walking when we ask that question in school, just for the simple fact is because then the teachers and the schools and the districts would have to do grief training.
Or bring someone in, which you should be doing anyway, right? Bring someone in who's qualified. In the Midwest, they have psychologists and social workers on staff in every school. When I moved out to Colorado, it blew my mind that that's not a thing. And this is one way to make it a thing.
Yeah.
We don't bounce back from a crisis and go back to school as normal. So even students who might not have had something happen in their school are struggling with what's going on in this world. So even if teachers don't ask, we need that, they need that. And why can't we talk about why? So they'll cry. So we might have to call mom and dad, or we might have to stop teaching math and talk about being sad and how we get through it, which is far more important in lifelong lessons.
Oh, I agree with that. Wholeheartedly, I agree with that. And the fact that the districts, the schools, the teachers don't have grief counseling to be able to, I shouldn't say all of them, I'm sure some of them do, but it's not like a school curriculum. Like it's not in there. It's not, they're not discussing that. It's not an active like course taught or preventative, not even a preventative measure because you can't prevent it, but like.
But they have to learn how to hide from a bomb threat or a school shooting threat currently in any school, right? So we're teaching that. So I believe that, then we have a conversation that follows.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I love that so much. And I think that every school would benefit, and the children, because I think that they're the lost souls that get shoved to the side because we think, oh, they'll be fine. They're young enough. They'll bounce right back. They'll be fine. But in reality, they hold on to it. And then it manifests later in their life as fears. And they don't just bounce back. And so I love the fact that trying to get that into school. So if you're listening, go talk to your schools, your districts, and whoever else you need to talk to get this on the map for permanent.
Right. And we can do it at home. Also, my brother thinks that my nieces don't like talking about people they've lost. He doesn't like talking about people he lost, right? So when they lost someone on their mom's side, he said to me, and I live in a different state, don't bring it up. It makes them sad.
Yeah, no.
But I didn't have to say a word. Aunt Sam, blah, 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 blah. Like they know they can talk about it with me. Right? And he's sitting there looking, going, what just happened?
Right.
They can tell if someone
have an open door.
We're not going to talk about it with daddy. He gets weird. He doesn't like Aunt Sam. And so we have to show them that we can be sad and get through it and still live life. There are days I'm sad. The next conversation was don't cry around them. And I said, well, then I can never see them again. I cannot promise I won't cry.
Right? That's so true. That's a good point you're bringing up, is the emotions that are evolved and not evolved, but involved with it. Because people think that when you have emotions that you're just weak, that you're just breaking down, that you're having, all these things, and people don't know how to deal with emotions. So they become this very sterile person. There's no highs, there's no lows, because if you show too much high, then you're a little crazy. But if you show too much low, then you're depressed. And it's like, how do you, so people put on this, like, what is it? highlight reel per se, and they never show the down moments. They never show the hardships that it takes to like even get out of bed in the morning, or to go take a shower, or to pick up your phone and answer, or to, you know, reach out to someone else because you're so caught in the grief, or you just don't even know what to say. So therefore you just don't say anything at all.
So it's been an interesting transition. You can tell he still doesn't love it. I talk about Jim every day. I'll never stop.
Yeah.
But it's not just him. Right now, they talk about their uncle who they lost. And
Yeah.
this is my a fingerprint. So they of Jim, and they were the ones to say, let's get clay and we can get a copy of it and do more things.
Yeah.
Like artistic, healing, loving ways that would never happen if we were just not allowed to talk about it, period. So I always rock the boat. I know it can be difficult if you are in a position where you aren't the boss, or you have somebody else who might be upset by the conversation, but I just think that they lead to such beautiful places. And we're the ones with the, you know, it's not the kids. They'll talk about anything. We're the ones stopping it with our hangups or our beliefs. And they're having healthy conversations. They're not sobbing, missing school, right? They're
Right.
thinking of ways to give Aunt Sam more presents with Uncle Jim's fingerprint. You know, it's a nice that would have been completely eliminated if I followed the rules. So sometimes, you know, you have to do what's right for you, even when it makes the people you love uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because not talking about Jim would not be okay with me.
No, we have an open door policy here too, to talk about my daughter and my granddaughter always. Like, if you have questions, if you're feeling sad, that's okay. We'll talk through it. It's okay. You don't want to talk about it, that's okay too. We'll
Right.
snuggle, we'll hold hands, we'll whatever. Oh, you keep bringing it up about talking with your brother, which I think is fantastic. Can you give me a couple ideas? So, like, say there's someone in my life that doesn't want to talk or is having a hard time talking about it. How can I approach the subject? Do you have any tips or tricks to approach the subject with someone that may not want to talk about it, or it feels awkward, or they're just like, oh, I don't know what to say. I just don't want to do anything, you know?
So the first thing is, for me, like I just said, not talking about Jim hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So I let everyone know, please talk about Jim, share your favorite story, send me all your pictures all the time. This never ends,
Right.
because I don't want to stop talking about him. It's how we keep him alive and with me. So I think letting people know your own comfort level. People are afraid to make you feel sad on a day you might not look sad, right? So they don't know, can I bring this up or not? So I have let everyone in my world know there is never a bad time. Any Jim story, anytime. Your house might be different, right? So letting the people know, and then letting them know that like it's how I get through it. And so I don't want to disrespect you. If it really truly is painful or makes you uncomfortable, then I can talk about it with other people. But if your discomfort is connected to your fears about me, then let's put that away and know that I'm better having the conversations.
Yeah. That's good, because there's a lot of people that just shy away from it. There's a lot of people that just, or like time passes and they're like, oh, they must be over it. You know, 2, 3, 4 years. And they must, no sense in bringing it up now. Why would I talk about it now? Like, they're over all that stuff.
No, never over it, right? There's
No.
this, the world thinks something magical happens after the first year.
Yeah,
All
no.
that happens is that we know
how to deal with it now for at least 1 year.
right? All that happens is that our life, this is reality. Like, it's not a bad dream.
Yeah. Yep.
So
the year of firsts. Yes.
And if a child asked you, can we talk about Uncle Jim? You haven't mentioned Uncle Jim. Would you get angry? Right.
No.
So consider asking questions the way a child would, because that's the only way you'll know how the person in your life wants to go through the rest of this life. Then you're not doing it in a way that's mean. You know, if you're just like, I really want to talk about Jim and I don't know if that's going to upset you or not. Is this okay? I bet it leads to an amazing conversation and you'll learn things you didn't know that will help and things that are hurtful. But I don't see that hurting somebody's feelings if you're just asking in a loving way.
Right. As long as you're doing it with kindness and love is the intention instead of like, other things, I guess. No,
Right.
I love that. That's great because kids are, I believe that this untapped potential that we can all learn from, and they don't hold anything back. It's us who puts those filters in place to like, okay, no, we can't talk about that. You need to put that in a container and shove it over here because this is where this goes. And you just need to hurry up and clock in, get your work done, go home, watch TV, go to bed, get back up and do it all over again. And that hamster wheel is kind of, I think, the crux of everything at this moment because people aren't taking the time to actually dive into who they are, how they work, the emotions that they feel. They just keep burying it deep inside. And I mean, I'm noticing it all over the place. And to me, it's the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result.
And that's why I might fall on the side of too blunt. You know, I have to watch how I say things, but I'm always going to say them because it's information. I'm telling you, if I'm telling you I'm not okay today, I see that as data for you also, right? That's not me saying we have to sit down and I have to tell you everything about Jim for the next 3 hours, right? I'm just kind of labeling where I am today. And if everyone in the world did that,
yes,
red means crabby. We're not going to talk to anybody carrying red today. Let's just wait till it turns purple, right? And
I love that.
that's how I do it with people who don't think they're at a place where they have the words yet. We're going to start with like red means crabby. Once we see people can respect and understand that boundary, then people realize, okay, maybe I'm allowed to say the actual words.
Right? Oh, that's good. I love that. Because in marketing world, that's called pre-framing the conversation, which is a great thing to do. Because then, like, like it kind of sets the boundaries for you. It's like, okay, they're not in the best mood. Again, like we mentioned before, maybe I'll hold that conversation or that comment for another time. They're not going to be receptive today. Their filter is in the crabby filter. So we're going to.
Right. Parents, think about this with chores. Right. There are certain conversations. If you know your teenager says crabby, bad day at school, we can talk about adjusting the dishes tomorrow, have a much better outcome. And chances are teenagers can't come in and say it in a polite way.
Yeah,
right.
I don't.
It's like a bridge we're working towards. Once they see, oh, mom and dad actually care that I'm crabby. They just didn't know before. So I walked in the door and they jumped right on me about homework and chores.
Yeah.
It is a way, it's data, and we can use it to learn about each other. And I also think we connect. There are people who have really similar personalities who can recognize I'm that way too. What do you do on those days so you don't scream at anyone in your house?
Right. Right. No, that is fantastic. I love it. I think it's, as one gentleman I know, he calls news you can use so that you can move forward with the more productive and proactive conversations as opposed to stifling it and shoving it down and teaching our children and those that are coming after us that, hey, your feelings and emotions don't matter. And what you're experiencing is just bullshit. Just keep moving. You'll be fine. Go to work again. You'll clock in, you'll get your pay. It's fine. Go buy a new toy, go get a new game, go. And I don't want to sound like I'm knocking those things because those things are great if you're dealing with the grief that you have, as opposed to using them as crutches to avoid everything in the world.
And there, so I was the opposite, right? I kind of withdrew from Fun Sam. I wasn't doing the things that I normally did because I didn't want to be around crowds of happy people. So football games and concerts and things like this did not appeal to me early in grief. But it was very different from who everyone knew for the first 44 years of my life. I was doing things in nature and doing things by myself, and it was very different for me as well. But we have to recognize that I got through my emotions that way. I have a friend who was doing the opposite, like you said.
Yeah.
Keeping herself busy from the minute she was awake until she was asleep, and she couldn't be by herself.
Yeah.
So she was fine out and about, but once she got home and had to shut the door and be by herself, everything was still there.
Yeah. It is. No, yeah, that's why I had to put that, because it's amazing when you go down this journey of grief, how much you learn about yourself and how much, so for me, I always have a tendency, like I will seclude myself. And most people are like, well, that's not healthy. I'm like, no, that is healthy for me. It is absolutely 100% healthy for me. I go into this like little cavern that I create for myself, and I'm by myself. And when I'm ready, when I'm done, when the time is right for me, I come out. I'm like a bear. If you pull me out ahead of time, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be belligerent. I'm going to want to rip your head off, like all these things. But if I'm allowed to just go in there and just process my emotions, my feelings, all of the things, then I'm great. That's how I emotionally regulate myself. And that's, but it's different for other people.
Right. But we aren't taught, let's figure that out so that you can learn how to get through the ups and downs. Right. It's one of those awkward, uncomfortable things. So most people wait until they crash, figure it out because they have to survive. And life is harder than it needs to be. So again, even just having these conversations, asking someone, scale of 1 to 10, what's your mood today? Some way that you can get a measure of where they're at to decide what to talk about and what conversations wait until tomorrow. Most people
Thank you so
are
much for listening to
struggling
this special episode of
and
Release.
look
All
fine
the
on the
links
outside.
plus a few extras
So,
are posted in the show notes
people
below.
who-
And if you think
the
someone you
people
know
who
could
have the
benefit by listening to this episode,
that's who you connect
please
with,
share
and
it
that's
with
how
them.
you find
And as always, keep
other
going,
people going
keep
through
being,
it,
keep
other
doing.
people with great
You
ideas
are
or
amazing.
suggestions for things that you might love, that if you don't talk about it, you never find.
You never find. I love that. You don't. You don't know you also don't know who's there to support you either, and who's going to be, and I liken it a lot. So my kids talk about this a lot. You talk about your fair weather friends and the friends that are there for the good times only and are, abandon you in the bad times. And I wonder, instead of them abandoning you, if they just don't know how to handle it, how to deal with those emotions or that bad time, or, they've never been taught how to do that. They only jump from one high to the next high without ever feeling the lows and knowing how to deal with them, because we're taught that that's bad.
Or even dealing with them through that in their own way. Like men often cry in the shower or when they're driving. Jim's friend seriously grieved so deeply, as much as I did, but he is the social butterfly still. And so his way of trying to connect with me was planning these things that gave me so much anxiety about attending, right? I had to have a conversation and say, I love you. I have zero interest in any of the ways you're suggesting, which made no sense because prior to that would have been perfect. So people can't be there for us the way we need if we don't tell them, okay, this doesn't meet my need anymore. I need to do anything outside, anything with my dogs, like anything where I feel like I can breathe and I have room to walk away if I need to. That was what I needed, but he never would have known that if I didn't bring it up, because he'd known me one way my entire life with his best friend. So people do try to show up the only way
do.
they can think of. And sometimes if we can create those lists, the other one is, do you need anything?
Mhm.
Right? Well, I need 100 things, but I'm never going to know the answer when somebody asks me.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think a lot of it is too, is when people just expect that when they're going through something, everyone else goes through it the same way.
Mhm.
Which is absolutely false, because there's how many different people in this world, and how many different ways are there to go through it? I don't have no idea. I'm sure however many people are on this earth, there's that many ways. Because
And I had to
different.
say, you know, please, like, to my people did walk away. They wanted Fun Sam, and I wasn't meeting their deadline. But my circle, my friends and family, I had to say, I don't understand this either. Like, this is new for me also. I have no interest in doing any of the things I've loved my entire life, and I'm figuring it out. So please just be here, and you can be confused. You can totally get it, but I need you to just be here and
Yes.
judge, like, just, and look at it now, right? Like, that is how I stayed on my feet, got back to living, am doing things again. But if I had done it the way anybody else wanted me to, or the way anybody else thought it should look, I would have had a harder time.
Right. And you may not be where you are right now.
Right.
In fact, you probably wouldn't be. Probably
Right.
push it out much further for that. Yeah. I love that, because it's your journey, it's your grief, and the relationship that you have with the person is your relationship, and how you connect with it. Like, there's all these different factors that go into grief, as opposed to just being, oh, nope, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it, now we're done. Boop. And you're like, no, I'm now picking on a sidecar, and we're going to bring this one along with, and we're going to push that one out the door, and we're going to like strap this one in, duct tape that, it's just never the same. And even with my children going through losing their sister, they've all processed it differently.
Mm-hmm.
But they expect each other to process it the same. And I'm like, no, you can't really do that.
Right.
You need to like give each other space and grace to, get through this and get to a firm foundation to be able to move forward. Otherwise, you're just, you're hindering that person.
So finding those people, the people who will let you do it your way, even if that looks new. And it really might. A lot of people who I work with go through that same type of a change. We have to figure it out in a way that might be changing a routine that we've always had. And so if you're listening thinking like, oh my God, that happened with so-and-so, it's never too late to still reach out.
Absolutely. I think that they would genuinely appreciate it. Like, and just let them know you didn't know how to handle it. You had no idea what to say, no idea what to do. You didn't know what they wanted or needed. Because here's the thing, they didn't either. That person, like, when we lost our daughter, like, it was just complete out of the blue shock. It was a horrific freak vehicle accident. And so we were told by the, the sheriff's department. And so it was like, okay, all of a sudden, one day she was there, one day she wasn't. Now we're having to deal with this. And now we have a blended family. And so now we have all of these different aspects rolling through this family and this community. And people were asking, like, what do you need? I'm like, I have no idea. How are you doing? I'm like, Mom, I'm here. That's it. That's all you're getting today. Like,
think about so I had just had back surgery, and I had a very hyper active puppy.
yeah.
Right. I always needed help with my dog, but you can have your lists, because somebody's going to ask you, and it's okay to pull it out and say, here you go, and let them pick.
Yeah.
They want to help. If we don't tell people what we need, we're going to get a whole lot of lasagna dropped off.
I was going to say casseroles. I'm in Minnesota. So in Minnesota, it's casseroles, which is great, but there's other ways too.
Right.
And I love the lists.
Even if you need food, like breakfast, you don't need 30 lasagnas, you need 30 meals.
Yes. And so I posted a post probably a little while ago about grief groceries, which I think is fantastic. But the more I thought about it, it was very much not fantastic. For the simple fact is like, I'm not going to go buy Samantha groceries because I have no idea what you eat. And I don't want to put stress on you more afterward, because if I buy something that you don't like, you will feel inclined to eat it, even though you don't like it because somebody bought it for you, which is like, and I was like, this is insane because, and this is where a list would come in perfectly. It's like, if I have a list, put it up there, let your good friends know, whatever, or get gift cards would be the next best thing. That way they can go purchase whatever they want to get, and use it that way. To
And
me,
I
that
always say to people, like, let's go back to school, give me multiple choice questions, not
Yeah.
essay questions, right? Say, I am coming by with food. Do you want me to leave it on the porch, or are you in the mood for company?
yes.
That, right? Then I get to choose, but they're not giving me too many choices. Decisions become so difficult when you're overwhelmed with grief. And so one question can be what sends someone in.
Paralyzing. Mhm.
Yeah. So even just breaking it down that way and making it, you know, I'm going to the store. Do you want chicken, meat, or veggies? You know, like making it as simple as possible for the person on the receiving end is really helpful. And no one tells you that either.
No, they don't. Or like, would you like to ride along? Would you like to go with me to the store? You don't even have to pick up anything, but would you just like would you like to accompany me to the store? You know, they don't talk about that. There's so many things about grief that, you know, obviously, same as you've learned the hard way. Like, and at first I didn't understand them. I didn't understand what I was going through. I didn't understand the emotions attached to it. I didn't understand that it was okay to say no. I didn't understand that it was okay to say yes. I didn't understand that it was okay to cry, that it was okay to laugh, that it was okay to just not get out of bed for the day. I didn't understand any of those things because we'd never talked about it. It's not, I mean, we have the fire escape thing that you talk about with your family. Okay. We burn wood. Children, how do we get out of this house if it's on fire? Whatever way quickest, because we have a wood house and the inside's all wood. So the quickest window, throw something through it and get out, you know? And it was, but with the grief, it's like, okay, now what? What do I expect now? What is my next step now? When will this time be done? When will this period be over? When can I move on to this? When am I going to actually feel again? When am I going to actually see colors again? When am I actually going to be able to say I am okay and mean it? Like, these are the conversations that we absolutely need to be having.
Well, you're allowed to change your mind also, right? What I think I want to do tonight, right now, might sound like a great idea, and tonight will come, and then you might be trapped with your answer. You're allowed to change your mind.
Yes, I agree with that.
That's a big one that people think, I said yes, I have to, and then suffer through something that isn't gunpoint. You know, it's not the end of the world, but we need to survive and heal, like really, truly. And so I tell people, listening to your body and deciding minute to minute and changing your mind is okay and necessary, because stomachache is something that's important. It might mean you don't want to go. And if you go, then you're around 30 people and you feel worse and you come home thinking, I should have stayed home. So I'm big on the check in with your body. We're not to do that either, but we tend to fight yawning. We fight crying. We fight these things that we really need to do, especially when we're grieving. So we're the car, and we generally are not taking care of the engine. So I'm going to focus on, if you're staying hydrated and setting an alarm to have one nut, right? Like, I don't expect you to sit down and have a huge meal or want to cook it. So that's another thing that the groceries could add stress for. You know, it's just truly however it looks for you. I couldn't cook for a really long time. And that was my hurdle. Loved cooking with Jim. So everyone has a struggle through grief that someone else didn't. Someone else was cooking, no problem. I was driving. Somebody else couldn't do that. You know, it's really personal, and you're allowed to say, I just can't yet.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the first thing that comes down to it is understanding yourself and what you need. And that therefore takes a nice, long, deep introspection. And it's almost like, I don't know if you're familiar with like a Class A driver's license. So when you go to your vehicle, you have to pre-trip it. You have to check the lights, you have to check the fluids, you have to check, the blinkers, you have to check everything on that vehicle to make sure that it is safe to go out on the road. It's the same thing that we need to be doing with our bodies, is doing a pre-trip inspection. Like, am I okay? Like, what's going on? How am I mentally, physically, and emotionally? Where am I at? What are my tipping points? Like, do I need to go in for a service? Like, all of these things. Do I need to just like stay in the bay and not go anywhere today? But it's understanding yourself and knowing, I shouldn't say knowing, learning how you need to, or what you need for that day. It's not like understanding or knowing it. It's like you have to learn. We're not taught these things. And to be honest, I don't know that we could teach anyone these things. It's got to have an open communication, like from a young age, to be able to say, hey, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Where are you at emotionally? Where are you at physically? Like, are you drained today? Are you feeling like you're all fired up and you're ready to go? Like you can conquer the world? Because there's days like that. But then the next day might be, no, I feel like the world is conquering me. I'm down, I'm out. I'm like, boom. But I think for me with the grief was understanding myself to the point that I can tell you moment by moment where I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, where I need, and then that time would space out. So then it would be hour by hour, and it'd be day by day, week by week. I never get into the year by year stuff, but because that's just way too far out.
But I come back to it now, like old Sam would be laughing because I like trust my intuition. I wouldn't have talked that way. I would laugh at that, but that is truly now I will do that check-in and do my breathing to make a decision, because it slows everything down. I can actually get in touch with me and not the rest of the noise from the world, because there's opinions and expectations everywhere. And to get through this, whatever this is, moving, new job, any type of new situation, you really have to do it your way. And if you do it someone else's, it can last longer and be more painful. So recognizing that I had the answers and I had talked myself out of listening to me my entire life.
Yes.
Once that I wanted to go to the mountains where we got married for our anniversary. Everyone who loves me was worried about me making that drive by myself, right? Just me and so no one wanted me to go. I had to go. Did not know why, but it was a must. I went and had an extremely important week in my healing. Things happened. Had I not gone, right? So I was able to say, oh my God, what would have happened if I listened? They love me. They mean well. They think they're pointing me in the right direction, but they don't know best. So all these years when we go ask our parents and our favorite teacher and all these other people and we get their advice, I was listening to bad advice because they meant well all of the times, but my body always had the answers. And so once I figured that out, I've never looked back. People think I'm crazy, but I'll say, nope, got a sign from the universe. Can't do it.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy how now? Yeah. Cause I'm the same way. Like before it was like, no, there's no intuition. There's none of that. I'm just gonna do. It's all good. All gravy. Just gonna do whatever. Now it's like, I feel a change coming. Let's not do this. Let's hold off another day and see how everything rolls. And now my husband's like, But I'm like, I can't just, it's nice to know the changes. It's nice to know that I do have the answers, like you were saying. Like, I have the answers within me, and I know how to steer this ship finally. It took a long time, a lot of learning, but finally I'm able to steer this ship. And that is such a blessing that a lot of people don't, because whatever reason they don't. And I just want everyone to know how to steer their own ship. I just want everyone to figure it out.
And the people, like my dad is not doing this work himself. He's not talking about his own signs from the universe, but he does recognize that this is how I live. And he knows better than to question it now. He's watched it. He's seen it. He knows, okay, works for Sam. I might not understand it.
You don't have to understand it. Just
but I
support
don't
them.
like he doesn't debate it anymore. So even though there are people who you think might never get it, they will surprise you. Because like now I can say that without anybody blinking. Like they know, oh, she got a sign from the universe. Don't mess with Sam. She's listening.
That's good. That's powerful too. That's not only letting you know that you're okay, but it's letting everyone else know that you're okay too. And so that they can trust your judgment, and you're not just going to drive off into the abyss and, something tragic is going to happen. And I want to go back to where you made the comment about your family giving you bad advice. And I don't know that it's necessarily bad advice. Would it be more along the lines of they are operating within their own comfort levels and their
They
own
mean well.
zones?
It was bad advice for me. Had I taken
It was, yeah.
But they don't mean it maliciously or have any bad intent. So I don't change my language. You might have your own, but I believe to anyone listening, you know you best, and anyone's else's advice that doesn't align with your intuition and your path it's bad, no wrong. Like it has to be that clear for me. They're not bad, no wrong.
Right.
I love them and know they love me, but the advice they think will help me in this situation is not going to. And so bad, no, like I don't even, old me would have like had to weigh those options and analyze and pros and no, I know my body is telling me, love you, thank you. Don't argue with Sam in the universe.
I love that. I just wanted to clarify on that, because a lot of people are like, well, no, that's just bad advice. Well, that's this, that's that, that's, whatever it is. And it's like, if you know yourself, then you know what it is. And you know whether you need to go or whether you don't or do or not or whatever it is. But what were the words you used?
Bad, no, wrong. Like for me, I make it very like my GPS. And because decisions were so difficult early on, it was as simple as, does this increase comfort? Will this give me a teeny tiny bit of peace? Does it take the like you look at the phone sometimes and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to that person. And you look at it other times and you're like, yay, right? Yeah. If it's a yay, if it lifts me up, it's a yes. If it's a draining, stressful, something that does not lift me up, it's a no. So bad, no, wrong. Not really by definition.
No, not by the person, but the information that they're giving to you and your journey. And only you know what journey you're on. So only you can make the determination if it's bad, no, wrong. I love that. That's really good, because a lot of people don't tune into that. And same way I'd have been like, oh, well, I don't know. What do you think? Is this going to be good for me? And then I do it. And I'm like, that was the stupidest thing I ever did. And now it's like, nope, no, it's not happening.
I argued away my intuition for my entire life. I've always had it, those gut feelings, those things that you can't prove, but I trusted other people's logical input.
Yes.
That feedback. And I didn't live a horrible life. They didn't send me down dark alleys, but it wasn't what would have been best. I knew otherwise. So if you are sitting there arguing because you cannot prove what, I could not prove why I had to go to the mountains. I could not give them any type of factual evidence that would make sense other than I have to go. Something is telling me I have to go.
Yeah.
Once I went and they can see these things play out, now they know what I mean when I say that. And I don't care if they laugh and don't get it.
That's on them. Absolutely. I love that. That is so good. So I coming back to the conference in December. What are the dates for it? What's the name of it? How can people sign up for it? How can people be a part of it? And how can people support you on this journey for getting grief to be not just in the dictionary, but like in everyone's language?
Please share it with any and everyone. Live in Fort Collins, Colorado, but streaming anywhere. So I have decided that I will be sending gift bags to Thailand that somebody in Thailand will be watching. So it is December 2nd through the 8th. And you can, if you have connections with schools or important people that would want to make this a part of having the students raise awareness and making it a part of the class or the curriculum, I would love anyone that wants to cheer along, because this is about more support being available for us while we're struggling. And the world, people come to me all the time saying, I couldn't find this. I called this place. No one called back. This grief group doesn't start until February. So this is about letting people know that there is support available today, not tomorrow, and how you can get it. So it frustrates me that there isn't more. And the more that is available, the burden's on us to find it. So again, trying to simplify the process for anyone. Healing Together Through the Holidays, December 2nd through the 8th. I'll give you the link so anybody can sign up.
Absolutely. I'll post the links below. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with our readers before we hop off?
You are not alone. That's my... even when it feels like it. And if you can just let one person in, make one connection, you will start to find the people to let you know that they are with you every step of the way.
I love that. And that's so true. It's so hard to fathom when you're in the deep of it, but you are not alone. There are so many others out there that are waiting to walk beside you.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on here. Thank you so much for taking part and being a part of my grief journey as well. I get knowledge from every person I talk to on these podcasts, and you are no different. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this special episode of Release. All the links plus a few extras are posted in the show notes below. And if you think someone you know could benefit by listening to this episode, please share it with them. And as always, keep going, keep being, keep doing. You are amazing.